So we are here with Francis Crossman from Adobe. He's going to walk us through kind of the new updates that have come out for Premiere Pro.
Yeah, hey, welcome to Adobe, NAB 2023. We've got some big announcements, but first I want to say that we've been hard at work over the last year, really improving the reliability and the speed of the product. We've aggressively attacked bugs, and we've GPU accelerated a lot of things like effects and transitions and popular camera formats. And we're happy to say that this is the most stable and the fastest version of Premiere that we've ever shipped, because we know above all else, that's what people really need from a pro video product like Premiere. We've also been really listening to our users and putting in the things that they've been asking for. Sometimes they're little fixes that are easy for us to do, but are going to make a big difference for you. And the big thing that we want to announce at the show this year is text-based editing, which is an entirely new way to edit. You can automatically transcribe all of your clips when you import them. We support up to 17 different languages, and it's going to automatically detect the language. You can separate speakers so you know who's speaking, the filmmaker asking questions, the interview subject answering them, and then you can use that transcript to find the sound bites, insert them into your sequence, and then even also use the transcript to do sequence editing. So it's a really very full-featured text-based editing workflow. It's really going to speed up the workflow of seasoned professionals like you guys, but we also think it's going to make it easier for newer folks to get started, because if you can cut, copy, and paste, you can edit video with text-based editing.
Yeah, especially like interviews. Like I've been, Frankenbiting interviews especially, but...
Oh, it works great for Frankenbite.
Yeah, but it's a welcome addition. The only thing I would love to add is being able, because sometimes I'll send the transcript off for someone else to edit.
Yeah.
Because that's how I used to do it, I guess. So maybe I got to change my workflow. But sending it out, having them edit, and then being able to import and having it recognize.
Oh, totally.
And then that's what
You're talking about a paper cut.
Yeah.
Well, what we're trying to say here is no more paper cuts. So here's a Band-Aid for you.
Is it an Adobe branded
It's an
Band-Aid?
Adobe branded Band-Aid. No more paper
amazing.
cuts. Yeah. But what you're talking about, you totally can get the transcript. You can export it as a text document. It'll have the speaker names and also, time code, chunks basically by paragraph. You could send that off to someone if they really want to do that paper edit.
Right.
But what I would say is you could even get this like producer or director type person comfortable enough in Premiere.
So that was,
so that they can just, because like, if
I
you
had this conversation 2 days ago where the girl was like, the director basically was like, maybe I should just download Premiere, and I don't work for you guys, so my first thought was not, but it's like $20 a month, But I mean, it seems entirely reasonable for if this is a constant workflow thing, which for me and that woman it is, to just have her do the edit and then send me the timeline, and then I finish it out.
For sure. What she can do is look at the transcript, find the bits that she wants, just hit comma to insert it into a timeline.
Yeah.
And that's all the editing that you basically need to do. I might also add that if you guys are working remotely, not in the same facility, you could put that into a team project. And then if you have your media,
so right.
and she's got her media, you can collaborate remotely that way.
Yeah.
In text-based editing, the transcripts do flow through team projects.
And every once in a while, so I have the podcast interviewing DPs, and every once in a while I'll get a director or an editor. And I remember, I think it was maybe the most recent one, the editor was saying that he personally just wants to use productions even on solo projects, just because he likes the environment, like larger films or whatever. Even if he's solo editing, just because he likes the production's workflow better.
For sure.
People seem to really be enjoying that.
Yeah, and you could put a production on something like Lucid Link.
Sure.
And then you have access to the media back and forth. The Bear uses Premiere, and that's their workflow.
Yeah.
So they've got editors distributed, and they have all the footage on Lucid Link, and it's basically a cloud NOS, you could think of it.
Yeah. In regards to stability and whatnot, obviously, you hear a lot about people wanting the added speed, added stability. Are there any sort of bugs or anything specifically?
Anything notable?
Yeah, that you guys have taken care of in this update?
Yeah, well, we've added a lot of features that are going to help the user keep things stable for themselves. You're probably familiar with a lot of the troubleshooting steps. We'll do that over. Yeah. You're probably familiar with a lot of the, tried and true troubleshooting steps of like, if things are wonky, try clearing your media cache, try resetting your preferences, redo the plugin loading cache. Maybe you have a third-party plugin that's questionable and that's causing some crashes.
Audio plugins do that a lot.
Right? Yeah. So we have added reset options. So when you launch the app, you can hold down any of the modifier keys and it'll bring up a little window to allow you to do those troubleshooting steps. Reset your prefs, reset your media cache. You could even skip over loading third-party plugins from that screen as well, and that's going to help you kind of determine where the problem is. We also have a plugin manager coming.
Oh, cool.
Which means that you can actually see what plugins do I have installed, and if a plugin crashes, it'll warn you that, hey, plugin XYZ caused this last crash that you experienced. Would you like to disable it?
Right.
And then that's
huge.
That puts you in the driver's seat of being able to figure out how you want to deal with those issues.
Yeah, I mean, the most frustrating thing ever is when you get generic error and you're like, generic frustration. I don't know what to do with this. So having it tell you.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing is background autosave.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Which is major. So you're probably familiar with the common autosave. It's a little dialogue that pops up.
Always when you're hitting spacebar.
Right.
It's always
it interrupts your work. It's a pain. And so we've moved that onto a background process.
Wonderful.
So that it's completely seamless. And what I like to do is actually set the autosave duration down to 1 minute, crank the number of saves up to something ridiculous like 300.
Right.
And then check the option for it to also save your current project.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sure.
So what that means is that you get incremental backups every minute.
Yeah.
And then it's also saving your work. And if you ever need to step back in time to see like, oh, I made some ridiculous change and there aren't enough undos or something, you can step back in time.
That's really good. The one thing I did want to mention in terms of stability, I don't have a killer system. It's a GTX 1070 and an i7 7700. Modest machine.
Sure.
But the Puget Systems drive management recommendations where you have like cache on one, footage on another, neither of them on your C drive or your main drive, I think has done, I almost never like have performance or crash issues, which doesn't seem to be the case for everyone. And I think a lot of it does have to do with that drive management, but also, using footage that isn't crasher.
Well, a lot of it's a perception issue.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, let's face it, Premiere has had a bad reputation for a while, and we are aggressively trying to turn the corner on that.
Yeah.
From the last year, so at NAB last year, we made the commitment. We're like, next year when we come to NAB, it's going to be a turning point.
Yeah.
And we've really achieved that, We really very rarely hear from our, professional editing customers that they run into issues.
Yeah, and I'm not, I suppose I am a professional. I should
You're
be
professional.
I should be nicer to myself.
You're a professional.
I've worked on a real film. But yeah, same. I don't experience, but also I think to your point about trying to make things more the opposite of opaque, transparent for the user, to know what's going on, I think will also help the not younger, but less experienced users, let's say, or people who don't have the sort of film industry standardized knowledge, figure out what's going on and
we've been around the block enough times to know where the pitfalls are, and this is just sort of like standard. Anytime you work on a computer, you kind of need to know these things, like don't have 50 things running at the same time. Make sure you have enough RAM. Make sure you have enough this, that, and the other thing.
Big one. If you're on NVIDIA, studio drivers. Stop using the game drivers. Studio drivers.
Oh, that is a big thing.
The game drivers are a lot of times the issue.
Studio driver for sure. We have a feature in Premiere, the system compatibility report, and if we are very close with NVIDIA and the other GPU vendors as well, and if there's a known issue with one of the GPU drivers, we can flag it on our end so that you, the user, get notified, hey, this is not a recommended driver version.
Right.
You should update. So if you ever see that warning pop down when you launch Premiere, follow those instructions. You can go to the webpage and it'll give you instructions on how to update your GPU.
Yeah. And you guys just recently had like a couple like summits, right? Where you're talking, because my colleague Scott Simmons, I think, went to one. What were those conversations like? Because I heard a lot of people, there's a few, like, I think there was an influencer one as well or whatever, where they were like, they were very, transparent about what they're fixing, but I didn't hear any specifics. So I was wondering.
I'll tell you exactly what that was. I was at the one in San Francisco. I wasn't able to attend the one in New York because I was getting ready for this.
Yeah.
But in San Francisco, basically we got everyone in a room, and it was not us trying to sell our product to these folks.
Right.
It was really us listening to them. What do you need? What's top of mind for you? And I was sitting there with my little notebook, and you can talk to the people who were there. They're like, "Damn, you didn't stop writing the whole time." Yeah. And I was literally taking notes. Like, the good thing is, I've been an editor for 10 years before joining Adobe. None of this is news to me.
Right.
That was the good thing that I took from it. And it was really a validation that we are on the right track. And we still have work to do, but we're on the right track.
My request is being able to, because when I edit the podcast, I'll cut between cameras, but just being able to, if you have one clip, let's say, one video, and you drop a bunch of edits into it, being able to select every other edit, basically. Not the cut point, but the clip or whatever. But that's a silly
Let's talk about this after.
Yeah.
I'll give you my phone number. You can call me.
We'll figure that out. But there was one other thing. Something that I have seen, and I know this isn't necessarily like top priority, but I figure I'll ask because technically I'm the journalist. Is there any sort of, I don't know about incentive, but is there, obviously, in my opinion, your biggest competition is Resolve in terms of people choosing a system to go with, even though I use them not interchangeably, but in simpatico. Color tools in Premiere. Is there like a aim for that, or is that not really?
Absolutely. No, color is a target. Now,
obviously,
I will say,
there's the metry.
We're not trying to make a high-end grading solution.
Right.
Premiere Pro is an editing platform first and foremost, but editors need to do good color. So we are adding features in that are going to help you do that. So actually, one thing that we have that just came out is automatic color management for log media.
Yes. And thank you for bringing that up.
Tone mapping for HDR.
Yes.
So what this means?
The demo looked really good.
Yeah. There's two settings. So in the sequence, there's automatic tone map media, and what that's going to do is compress HDR into the SDR container.
Right.
And this is a big deal for people who shoot with an iPhone. Because they might not know that the iPhone by default is shooting Dolby Vision HLG HDR, right? And then you bring it in, it looks blown out, and you're like, what's up? Right. So this is going to take care of that. The other one is the automatic log video color space detection. It's in the preferences. I can give you a demo later if you want. And what that's going to do is it's automatically going to detect Canon C-Log, Sony S-Log, and Panasonic V-Log, so like the three major big ones. And it's going to automatically transform from the source color space into the timeline color space. Yeah. Which means you don't need to use a LUT. Right. And LUTs actually do have inherent problems, like clipping or banding if your LUT doesn't have enough precision, or if you overexpose the log and then the LUT pushes it too hard. Or if you bought it from a shady YouTuber. Well, totally, right? Well, and then that's the other thing, right? Is like, where do you get this LUT? Yeah. You get your fancy new Sony camera and you're like, S-Log 3 is what all the hip YouTubers are doing, so you set it to that, and then you import it and you're like, what LUT do I use? Right. And you go digging through the Sony Pro website, and it can be tricky, right? So we're trying to alleviate that so that you turn on these two options and then just drag in your footage, we'll manage the colors, you start editing. Yeah. The important thing to note about this, though, is that we have deep respect for everyone's muscle memory over the last 2 decades of shooting with log and working with log. Right. So that option is off by default because we don't want to mess people up. So if you're used to using LUTs, you can keep on using your LUTs. But if you're ready to dip your toe in color management of the future, right, you can turn it on and just let us deal with it. And then if you wanted to use a LUT in conjunction with that, maybe one that's
So how would you do that? Would you use like a 709 a LUT that's expecting 709 gamma 2.4?
Correct.
At that point, okay, cool.
Correct. So after our color conversion, it's in a Rec 709 space, and then you can apply any kind of look LUTs that you get from any of these questionable characters.
Or good. There's a couple good ones.
Or reputable ones.
I can make a list of some good ones. I make a couple that I've tested.
Sure.
They're for the Canon cameras, but. I think we've probably taken up too much of your time, but thank you so
good.
much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
Really, the updates are exciting, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Cool.